Hey all, Andrew here. Welcome to the Onion Buns. So it's time for another edition of Let's Talk. What do we want to talk about this week? Well, I'm tapering down on my election coverage. I'm going down to 2 days a week on it. I mean, if the facts out there have not educated you, that's willful ignorance on your part, refusing to look, read, listen to the facts. So with that in mind, I think a good topic for today is low information voters. What are they? Why are they? At least in my opinion. So right off the bat, let me be clear here. I'm a moderate voter. I vote for the party closest to the center for the most part. I read all the policies from the main two parties. I'm not a socialist. I'll never be a socialist. So I give Jagmeet Singh and the NDP no attention at all. They're idiots. They really are. So I have voted Liberal in the past, and I've been voting Conservative for the last, 25 years now, because the Liberals started going left. And I don't do extremism. I don't do right-wing extremism. I don't do left-wing extremism. And make no mistake, the modern-day Liberal Party is a radical, extremist, alt-left globalist party. And that's actually a really good place to start, because they are trying to sell themselves as a centralist party. They're not. Their media, the CBC, Global, Globe and Mail, Toronto Red Star, are trying to sell Mark Carney and the Liberals as a center-left party. They're not. And the only people that believe they are, you guessed it, low information voters. So what is a low information voter? In my opinion, and I'm sure other people have their own definitions, but in my opinion, there's three things that make you a low information voter. One, the facts don't matter. You're not interested in the facts. You're only interested in the ideology. And to me, that is 99% of the modern day Liberal or NDP voters, or Greens for that matter. People are voting ideology. They don't care about the facts. They go out of their way not to hear the facts, honestly. They're voting ideology. And if you actually try to talk to them, and I've given up trying to talk to them, I really have, because I get so infuriated, because what they're saying is absolute fucking nonsense. And if you've been watching my videos lately, I've been intentionally trying not to swear, but you have to swear when proclaiming that, because the stuff coming out of these people's mouth is absolute bleeping nonsense. It really is. It's not remotely founded in reality and fact. It is ideology, indoctrination, ideology. And I know a number of people that are very, I know one girl, she lives in Mexico, and she keeps going on about Carney. She has no clue what she's talking about. Like, she cannot hold a conversation on this topic. And all she just keeps repeating is, Carney's the best person to stand up to Trump. No, he's not. We know this now. The facts show us he's not. But she's not interested in facts. She's only interested in ideology, and the ideology around her says Carney will stand up to Trump. The hell with the facts, the hell with reality. You know, I've said many times, one of my pet peeves, and I don't suffer these people well, I really don't, are the intentionally stupid. Now, that's not to be confused with somebody who's uninformed or mistaken. Though you can be mistaken. I've been mistaken on items, and just the other day, somebody posted, make sure you bring a pen to mark your ballot. I'm like, I could be wrong here. And I always qualify it, I could be wrong, or I don't know. This is another pet peeve of mine, is people that try to think they know everything. If I don't know something, I'll tell you right up front, I don't know for sure. And I replied, I said, don't quote me on this, but I believe if you use pen on your ballot, that voids the ballot, because I know that was true when I was a teenager. But I don't know if that law changed. That's why I qualified it as, don't quote me on this. And they corrected me, and it was all good. It was a respectful conversation. 5 or 6 people came in and said, no, Andrew, you're wrong, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, cool. I learned something new today. Awesome. I have no problem admitting if I don't know something. The low information voters will never admit they don't know something. They will just make shit up. And that is one of the main traits I find in low information voters. Another aspect of low information voting is they only select those media outlets that will tell them what they want to hear. They live in an echo chamber and they don't want to hear the facts. They don't want to hear reality. They don't want to hear truth. They want to hear what they already think. So here in Canada right now, you have the CBC, Global, Globe and Mail, Toronto Red Star, and one other that I'm forgetting offhand. But anyway, they are bought and paid for by the Liberals. They receive taxpayer money from the Liberals. They have a fiscal interest in promoting the Liberals. So they never tell you anything bad about the Liberals unless they absolutely have no choice in the matter. The evidence is so overwhelming that they have to come out and tell you. A great example is the Conservative Party put out a video called Carney in the Coal Mine. And I did a video on it, and I'll link it to you in the description. But this was the story of Mark Carney as the chief of Brookfield. They bought an insurance company called Rockwood. Rockwood does medical insurance for coal miners. Now, Carney is heavily invested in coal mining, contrary to his environmentalist claims. He's not an environmentalist, people. Again, misinformation by the media and by Carney himself, and the left eat it up. They believe it whole hook, line, and sinker, despite all the evidence telling them otherwise. So Carney took over this company, and one of the first things he did was they started denying the coal miners medical insurance. Even though they'd been paying into their insurance claims, it was denied, it was denied, it was denied. And, they fought these coal miners, these sick coal miners with black lung, all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court of America ruled in favor of the coal miners. So the Conservatives found this story and they took it to the CBC, CTV, Globe and Mail, Global, Toronto Red Star, and they all refused to run the story. Absolutely refused. They wouldn't do it. So the Conservatives put the story out themselves. But that just tells you how protected the modern day Liberal Party is because of they've bought the mainstream media in Canada. So if you are only getting your news from the mainstream media of Canada, to quote Denzel Washington, you are misinformed. If you don't watch the news, you are uninformed. If you do watch the mainstream media, you are misinformed. And that leads to low information voters because you don't know, but you've chosen not to know, which brings us back to that first point. Ideology. You are so embedded in ideology that you refuse to look at the whole picture. Now, a great example of that was this weekend during the debates, English debate. Some jackass, I don't even know who he is. He looked like an absolute douche. He really did. From the Hills Times, I don't even know who they are, but based on what he was saying, he's a far left-wing reporter, attacked the rebel media in the media room, and he got censored by the event coordinators. But the left, the CBC and this guy and CTV and all the rest of the legacy media, they spun it that this was all about the rebel media attacking Carney and attacking the legacy media. When you can watch the video, there's lots of videos out on this. Rebel just sat there. It was this guy beaking off the whole time, and Rebel guys, there was 4 of them, and they just sat there, and they didn't really, other than Ezra, they didn't exchange, and all Ezra said was, calm down, quit being so emotional, but somehow the media spun this to be, this was the right-wing rebel attacking the legacy media and attacking Carney. No, it wasn't. So here's what I was just talking about. This is the guy from the Hills Time. I don't know who he is. I don't even know what Hills Time is, to be honest. He's throwing a tantrum that he didn't get to ask a question in the French leaders debate. He's already been told that everybody got a chance to ask a question. All you had to do was line up. It was first come, first serve. He was too slow. That's all it was. There was no secret agenda or anything. These are the Rebel News Media, and then you got Ezra over here and a cameraman who's filming this. And yeah, CBC has come out, and Scott Reed has come out and said that the Rebel News, Ezra and this guy, were endangering all of these people's lives. That's why the English scrums had to be shut down. But here's the video. You can see for yourself. Everything's about this guy. It's got nothing to do with them. Just watch the behavior.
No. Also, if it was conservative, you would call for him to or anti-wise. The voice doesn't work.
They're arguing about the Ryan Turnbull story, I believe.
Honestly, I have respect for this sort of...
No, I know. I think that's what they're arguing about, is the Ryan Turnbull story.
Your little chattering class, you third-party advertisers that you work for. Rebel News? Rebel News, owned by Ezra Levant, is a different company.
Is he learning that Canvaxy is not a Rebel News?
Well, I want to make sure the guys filming it is over there getting good audio. So, can you hear me okay?
I have a lavalier mic.
Unseating problem.
Oh, by the way, this is Keenan. He's not part of Rebel News, but this guy seems to think if you're not paid by the Liberals, you're a third-party advocate and you're not worth anything. It's basically what he's saying.
Properly?
Do you want to put a lavalier mic on and then I can hear?
You have one set up? You got the levels ready for me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're clearly not doing any actual journalism.
Really?
Why, when you guys started gaming the rules and threatening to sue because you didn't get your way, I assumed the rules were out the window.
No, it's right here.
What he's whining about is Rebel News challenged the elections committee to be included into the media scrums of the debates. They took him to court because they were being excluded illegally. The courts listened and said, yeah, you can't exclude them, and Rebel News and non-funded outlets, so people not receiving money from the Liberals, were included in this year's debates. And Rebel News got to ask some very good questions, actually, in the French leaders' debate. Carney refused to answer. Jugmeat refused to answer. Only Poilievre answered their questions. And this guy's throwing a tantrum because they got to ask questions, but he was too slow to the podium and didn't get to ask a question.
Oh, was that like when it was in black and white saying you should only have one reporter credited so that everyone might have a chance to ask a question? But instead, you wanted to take, what was it, 2-minute long questions?
Even his buddy right here is laughing at him. You see him turning away, laughing constantly.
So that Poilievre only got asked 3 questions. He usually allows 4 because things move a little bit quicker at his press conference. You guys are so verbose, I'll say. Most of us didn't get a question. And what I really don't enjoy is that everyone else here was being respectful, following the rules.
Okay, I also want to point out that none of them are engaging with him. He's just going on this rant on his own. Nobody's engaging with him.
Just being considerate to everyone else. And what you guys decided to do was to take advantage, threaten to sue, so that you could try to get more than everyone else. And now, nobody likes you.
He's laughing.
Radio Canada had 4 questions and we had 4 questions. Why are you lying? We had the same numbers as
You guys
CBC.
threatened to sue, so that you could. That's why they got the 4 questions, because the commission.
You're making that up. You're lying again.
When did the CBC get 4 questions?
Yesterday.
Yes, after they had already.
And they had the same in 2021,
because
same in
you threatened
2019.
to sue.
You're lying again.
I'm not.
It's your correspondence that
Don't you have a third-party advertising truck to go take care of?
you're lying
How
again.
much have you spent on third-party advertising this election? Between Rebel News and For Canada, companies you own both of, how much money have you spent to influence this election? I'm assuming in favor of the Conservatives. How much have you spent? You're a journalist.
Rebel
you must
News
be
has spent
honest.
0.
So, Rebel News Limited, you set up.
You're a liar. This is, you haven't done your homework. You're making
Everyone
things
else,
up.
You can go to Elections Canada right now Every third party is registered. Search Rebel News for Canada, and you will see clear as day Ezra Levant as the owner of both of those companies. He has third-party advertising trucks driving around this venue
You're lying
right
again.
now.
That's not a Rebel News ad on there. You're lying.
It's
Why are you
owned by
lying?
Rebel. It's owned by you. Sorry. The truck is for Canada, which is owned by
you're
you,
lying again.
which is
Jesus
separate
Christ.
from Rebel News,
You're
which
a
is also
crazy
owned
guy.
by you.
You're crazy. Control you got to control your emotions.
One by one.
Control your emotions.
So, I'm not just
You're
enunciating.
out of control. You're out of
Speaking
control.
quietly doesn't make your things any less
You're
bullshit.
completely out of control emotionally. And your facts are completely wrong.
All right,
You're an
let's go.
embarrassment. What's your name? What's your name? You're suddenly shy.
No, I'm Googling.
You're Googling your name? Why don't you tell us who you are, tough guy?
Stuart Benson, Hill Times.
Student Benson, well, you're a disgrace to the Hill Times. And your facts are wrong.
Well,
Journalism, buddy.
actually, here's the thing. I can do the job of one of me can do the same job you clearly need 5 reporters to do. So am I a disgrace, or is it all of the people you needed to do the job I do by
You
myself?
just got to control your emotions. You're just out of control.
Rebel News Network Limited, March 27th, registered with Elections Canada, name of applicant, Ezra Levant, mailing address, Edmonton, Alberta, T5J OK4. I wonder where that would have been. T5J.
Everybody knows Ezra Levant owns Rebel News, so I really don't know what he's trying to say here.
OK4. I wonder what that postal code.
Well, you certainly got a tiger by the tail.
Let's go check out For Canada. I wonder who they are. Am I talking too loud now, or should?
No, you're just, you don't understand, you don't even understand what you're looking at.
What work are you doing? With nothing in front of you. Oh! Yes, the really exceptional work you're doing.
So the event organizer came over to pipe him down. Notice she didn't come to the Rebel. She didn't come to Keenan. She didn't go to Juno News. She only went to him. Yet somehow the media has spun this, that it's these 4, Ezra and the other guy, that initiated this and endangered everybody. That's a quote from the CBC. Endangered everybody.
Is she telling you you're out of control emotionally? Tantrum boy. I'll call you tantrum boy.
So there you go. It was, I really don't understand how the media is trying to spin this but it's what I've been talking about, the misinformation. The CBC especially, and Scott Reed, that's who it was. They went after the Rebel. Oh, they're right wing and yeah, blah, 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 blah. The only difference between the Rebel and the CBC and CTV is the CBC and the CTV are left wing and they are funded by the Liberals. The Rebel is right wing. There's no denying that. They're right wing, but they rely on viewership and donations from their viewership. That's how they don't get government handouts. So they push their right-wing agenda. These guys push their left-wing agenda. They're exactly the frickin' same. Yet somehow these guys are supposed to be the villain now. No, you all have an agenda. You all push your agenda and you all misinform. And that's why it's up to the people to watch everything. Not just pick out the few that echo what you want to hear, but watch everything. And you take a bit from here and a bit from there and a bit from there and you put them together and you usually come up with the full story that no one outlet is going to tell you. Low information voters, they revel in being uninformed, misinformed. Now, the other day, a guy I know, I posted about Carney keeps blocking pipelines in Canada, and he is. Again, only the low information voters don't believe this. Everybody else sees it. And I posted that he's blocking pipelines in Canada, but he just bought a pipeline in America. And the guy I know, he comes up and he goes, that's flat out false and you need better sources. So I shared him the news article by Reuters. It's no surprise didn't hear back from him. Because he's not interested in any news outlet, that doesn't echo what he already believes. Indoctrination, ideology. That is the modern day left. It really is. And that is the foundation of a low information voter, in my opinion. Somebody who avoids the whole story and then tries to push their little portion of a story as the complete truth. No. Look at the whole story. Be informed. I honestly think this is probably one of the biggest issues we have in modern day politics is everybody's so divided because we're dealing with extremes now. Back in the 90s and the 80s, the Liberals were a center-left party. The Conservatives were a center-right party. So you had two centrist parties. Now you have, well, the Conservatives are still center-right here in Canada. In the States, they're definitely right-wing. But in Canada, they're a center-right. But the Liberals and the Democrats, they're, again, radical, extremist, alt-left globalists. That's what they are. So there's nothing in common between these two parties anymore, between the Republicans or the Democrats or the Conservatives or the Liberals. And again, who cares about the NDP? Again, if you are an NDP voter, you are voting for ideology over substance and truth and reality. It's that simple. You know, and you're not even voting for a proper ideology because the socialism the NDP pushes is not the socialism you keep pointing to defend socialism. They're completely different things. The theory of socialism is not the same as what the NDP and other socialist parties push in North America or in Venezuela or across the world in socialist countries. They're completely different things. So again, low information voters, you are not looking at the whole picture. You are picking and choosing little tidbits and saying, that's the truth. No, that's not the truth. That's just a slight little portion of the truth. Look at the whole picture. Anyway, that is my video for today. Low information voters, who are they and what are they? And why are they, I guess? Well, the why is easy. They choose to be. What are they? Mostly nowadays, and it wasn't always this case, but I'm talking present day, your left-wing voter is the very definition of a low information voter. It really is. And why are they? Well, the media enables them because they pay off the media. It's really as simple as that. Follow the money, folks. So anyway, that's my video for today. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel, and a like, a subscribe, and a share does me wonders, and I do appreciate it. If you didn't like the video, leave a dislike. Always feel free to leave a comment. Don't worry, I don't swing my cane too strongly anymore if I dislike your comment. And as always, pew, 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Bye.